sharing rules, which are basically sharing rules, which are basically used for automatic exception. So up till now, we have only shared the records, we have only shared the basic access with OWD and the access to managers of their subordinates with the help of role hierarchy. What about this? Like we want to give the edit access to some of the theory faculty. We want to of the records which they teach, or of the subject of the courses which they teach. Like if I am I'm a theory faculty who teaches Salesforce Administrator. I should be able to see the records and as well as edit the records of say the students who are registered for Salesforce Admin. But I should not be able to see the records or I should not be able to see the records of the students who are registered for Java. Yes or no? So yeah, so this thing can be implemented with sharing rules. But before going to sharing rules, I'm going to talk about another topic, which is going to be very helpful for all of us. That is not highlighter. What's the name of the public groups? So public groups are basically used to group different people together, irrespective of their profile, irrespective of their role. Getting it? So if you want to create a team in which the people or the users are from different profiles and as well as from different roles, then you can create it with the help of public groups. Let's talk about it. So there is a Salesforce team in here, right? And that Salesforce team includes all different kinds of people. Number one, they have is give me a second. Yeah, number one they have is like a faculty, a theory faculty who teaches Salesforce. Then there are two associate faculties who help them get the assignments checked and get the doubts clear. So that's like these two people are on different profiles and different roles as well. But if you want to group them together into one, you can create a public group and you can add them into that public group, and then they'll be grouped into one as a one entity. And there is a sales manager also. There is a consultant also who helps us in training people and training the right things to the people which are actually demanded into the market or which are actually required into the market. So those consultants are onto different profile and different role altogether. But if you want to add them into a single team, you can add them with the help of public groups. And in public group, what we can do is we can add users, we can add roles, we can add roles and subordinates. And we can add what? Another public groups. Okay. So, but first thing is, okay, you can add different users. Okay, you can add different roles. Okay, you can add different roles and subordinates and other public groups. But why to create a public group? So if you want to create a group with whom you want to give the access of a particular records or particular files, you can create a public group, right? So I've created a Salesforce team, and to that Salesforce team, I want to give the access of certain records or certain files or yeah, certain documents. So in that case, instead of sharing with them one by one and identifying who that one is, I'll just create a public group and I'll just share it with that public group. And whosoever later on will be added into that role will be automatically added into that public group and will automatically get the access to that particular record or that particular file or that particular document. So that's how easy it becomes. So when different people from different profile and different roles are working together on a particular project or on a particular thing, and they need to have the same access to particular records and to particular files or yeah, certain files and certain documents, then in that case you can create a public group And yeah, that public group can be used to share the access of the records and the files and documents that you want to share. Is that clear? That's exactly what you guys do here. So if you want, so like, okay, remember the time when you went in your yeah, I mean, cousin's wedding, and then you created a WhatsApp group, and then you added all of your relatives, and then posted all the pictures that you clicked on that wedding. You did that. Why did you do that? So that you just share it with one, and it gets automatically shared with everyone. That's what you do. That's exactly what you do over here with public group. Nothing else. No difference. Is it clear? Everyone? Okay. How to create a public group? Setup. Public groups. I'll create a new public group. No one has asked me that what is roles and subordinates, by the way. Users, you know. Roles, you know. What is roles and subordinates? Now I'm gonna ask you. Exactly. So when you talk about roles and subordinates, if I'll say training manager, roles and subordinates, training manager. So that means all the users on training manager role and all the users who are below training manager's role are also considered into that roles and subordinates. So if there is a hierarchy like training manager, and then there is theory faculty, and then there is associate faculty, and then there is front desk executive. So if you want them all to be included into the public group, you'll select roles and subordinates and training manager. So all the roles under training manager, including the training manager, will be included in that public group, and automatically, and the users who are there on those roles will be included into that public group. Every, like completely, all of them. So under training manager, there is theory faculty, and under theory faculty, there is associate faculty. So theory faculty and associate faculty both, as well as the front desk executive. That's what roles and subordinates are. But you didn't ask me. Okay. So do you want to share the or grant the access using hierarchies in this public group as well? So if you want to check it, just check it. Otherwise, just leave it as it is. Now you want to add some users into it. Select users. You want to add Amit Shah? Add Amit Shah. Don't want to add Sahil Sharma? Don't add him. Add the role. Which role you want to add? Associate faculty. Add. So like the users who are there on associate faculty role will be automatically added. Then if you want to add roles and subordinates, like I want to add roles and subordinates VP of marketing. So all the users who are there on VP of marketing role and all the users who are under this role as well will all get added into this public group. So that's how it goes. And there is no public group that you have already created. So it's none. So I've added plenty of them, and I'll just save it. So this is how you create a public group. Right? Clear? Done? Okay. Now, shall I change that thing? That is all the records that I can access. If the role hierarchy is enabled, how to enable the hierarchy? Grant access to hierarchy. Right? You got the answer? Then yeah, I just want to change one thing. I want to change the role of that the Samiksha who is getting the access to all the records should not get it. That's the thing. What is the sharing record? And sharing automatic efficiency. So how to create sharing rules? Go to setup and sharing settings. Just load up. Now let's go. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. And figure out which object you want to do it. Create a. But yeah, why did that? Let's understand sharing. Are we all ready for that? Doesn't look like. Are we ready for that? Sharing rules. Sharing rules are used to create automatic with the help of which we can share the records with different people irrespective of the role. Like if they haven't got the access of that, that's all. So there are three questions that you have to ask yourself in order to create a sharing rule. Let's see what the chat first. Can't hear you. Was it not audible? 39. Now is it audible, guys? Yes, perfect. Is it perfect? Is it perfect now? Better or perfect? Like similar to the earlier one. Perfect. Cool. Okay. Let's talk about sharing rules. There are three questions that you have to ask yourself in order to create sharing rules as an administrator. As an administrator, in order to create the sharing rules, right? Number one, which records to share? Simple. Which records you want to share? First of all, determine that, right? Once you've determined that, with whom you want to share that? So like you've determined these are the records that I want to share, but with whom you have to share that? You also have to determine that. So okay, once I've identified which records, now with whom? Now the third question is what access level? What access level? So basically, you've determined which records you want to share, with whom you want to share it, and what access you want to give to these people for these records. You want to make it read only, you want to make it read write, or what? So that is something that you have to ask yourself. And once you are ready with all of these three questions, why to wait? Let's implement a sharing rule. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to share the records, like share the student records which are registered for Salesforce admin, and I want to share it with Salesforce team, and I want them to be able to edit all of those records. Make sense? Pretty clear, right? I've answered all the three questions. Which records? The student records which are registered in Salesforce admin or registered for Salesforce admin course, and they need to be shared with Salesforce team. So I've already created a public group for that. And what access level? Read write. That's it. If you want to make it read only, then in that case you can set it like that. Okay. So to create a sharing rule, where I'm gonna go? I'm gonna go to sharing settings, and then I'm gonna hit new on that particular object sharing rules. So in this case, it's student sharing rules. I'm gonna hit new. Yeah. Now what should? Salesforce record share. Whatever I want to name it, I'll just name it like that and add the description. And by the way, guys, these are the best practices, by the way. When you're writing a code, make sure to add comments. Make sure to indent it well. Make sure that like the variable names have a meaning. Like we all make this mistake. We should not do that. Whenever we are creating a field, whenever we are creating a formula, whenever we are creating a validation rule, we should write the description. It hardly takes a minute for us to write the description. But imagine what happens when we are not there and someone else is working onto that Salesforce org. It takes like hours to them to identify what this field is for, what this validation rule is for, what this sharing rule is for. So if you'll invest a minute right now, they'll not waste their hour later on. And we all know, like if you've worked onto a maintenance project, then how it goes. क्या code कर दिया है? किसने बनाया है? These are the languages that we use. Like I am not able to understand. It's very difficult to understand someone else's code. But if you have written it in like well indented, in a well mannered format. So there are manners for coding as well, and you have to follow them. There are manners for everything. So yeah, and I'm saying it because I've been facing this a lot. People are good with coding, but they're like int I1, I2, I3, I4, I5. This is not your semester exams, guys. This is real world, and you should not code it like that. You need to have the name for that. Okay, so I've set the rule name in here, sharing rules, and now what I'm going to do is there are two types of sharing rules, by the way. Types of sharing rules. So types of sharing rules. Number one, criteria based. Criteria based sharing rules. Let's talk about it. Criteria based sharing rules basically means that if the record follows a particular criteria or falls under a particular criteria, then this record should be shared. And if this record is not following a particular criteria or does not fall into this particular criteria, it should not be shared. It's the simpler one. Like currently we're talking about if the registered for course is equals to Salesforce admin. So that's a criteria, right? No matter like any other thing does not matter. So these are called as criteria based sharing rules. Is that clear? So whenever you want to share the records based on a particular criteria that you want to run on all the records which are on there on that particular object, then in that case you're going to create a criteria based sharing rule. That's clear? Number two. Owner based. So owner based sharing rules, let's talk about it. I want to share the records which are owned by him to her. This is owner based sharing rule. whichever records this Salesforce team owns should be shared with VP of Marketing. Whichever records this Salesforce team owns should be shared with HR, or should be shared with sales manager. So that's basically sharing based on the ownership. So you're creating exceptions. Let's see the role hierarchy. So this consultant, has got no relation with sales head APAC. According to the role hierarchy, will the records of consultants be shared with sales head APAC? No, but that's an exception that we want to create. So how can we create that? By owner-based sharing rules, by creating owner-based sharing rules, in which what I'm going to say, share the records which are owned by the people who are on the role consultant with the users who are on the role sales head APAC. That's it. That's what it's called as owner-based sharing rule. Is it clear? Good. So it's asking me select your rule type, the second step. So what should I select in this situation? I want to share the records of Salesforce admin with the Salesforce team. Criteria. What should be the criteria? Course opted equals Salesforce admin and Salesforce developer. Insert selector. Select the users to share with. So the first thing is which records to be shared, with whom you want to share, and then the access level. So with whom you want to share? Salesforce team. And over here, there are three things that are coming up: public groups, roles, and subordinates. So if you're going to select roles, you want to share it with installation and repair services. So that's a role, and all the users who are onto this role will get the access to the records which falls into this criteria. And if you're gonna select roles and subordinates, and you'll select, what should I say, COO, then the users who are on COO role and the users who are under the COO role will all get the access to the records which are will get the access to the students who are registered for course which are registered for Salesforce admin as well as Salesforce developer course. If the grant access using hierarchy is checkbox is checked, and that too, listen to me, if you are sharing it with public group, then there is an option. If you remember, grant access using hierarchy is in that checkbox. So if you're sharing it with public group, if you're creating automatic exceptions, do you want like the access to be shared of those public groups with the people above them? If yes, then keep it checked, and otherwise just uncheck it. But for now, what we need to do is set the public group as Salesforce team. Set it as set it like that, and then the access level, read only or read write. Read write, sure. Okay, and then we'll save it. Why there is no private in here? There's read only, there's read write, there's no private. We're creating. So can't we use it to restrict the access? So what if we want to restrict the access for a particular group of users using sharing rules? So can't we use it to restrict the access which is already given? Okay, so you all are right. Those who are saying no, we cannot use, listen to this carefully, we cannot use sharing rules to restrict the access provided by OWD or role hierarchy. Remember the inverted triangle? Access opens up. You cannot restrict the access which is already provided by OWD with the help of sharing rules. And it's a very important question. It comes into your test as well as your certification and everywhere. And it gets asked in interviews as well. With the help of sharing rules, can you restrict the access which is provided by OWD? No, we cannot do that, because OWD is the most restrictive access, or OWD is the baseline level of access. need like not the role hierarchy, neither your sharing rules can restrict the access which is provided by OWD. Getting it? So if like I mean yeah, if you're creating a sharing rule, then that means you want to provide additional access which is not there already by OWD or by role hierarchy. So that's the reason we create sharing rules. Otherwise, there's no need for sharing rules. Just set the private for OWD and that's done. And that's done. So you're getting it? With the help of sharing rules, we cannot restrict the access of the records which are shared by OWD or role hierarchy. Is it clear? Okay. We'll set it read write this time and we'll save it. Okay, what it is saying, read this. The recalculation of sharing access will continue in the background. You will receive an email notification upon completion. Do you want to continue? Yes, obviously. Even if you set it at read only over there, it will show you read only and read write. I mean, it will show it to you, but private is not an option at all. And then there is that sharing rule is waste if you set it as read only. If so, I understood your question before you saying it to me. OWD is set as public read only. Then in that case, like will it come as read write or yeah, I mean, will it come as read write as well as read only? So it will come with both. But even if you set it as read only, then there is no use of creating that sharing rule because that read only access is any which way is already there on that object for the users. So yeah, now let's talk about it. Let's get back to this sharing recalculation. What this means? Any changes in what? No, 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 no. Okay, so you're right. There are records already in our object, and once you create a sharing rule, and it's a criteria based sharing rule, right? So that rule needs to be run on all of those objects, and then we'll identify which user will be able to have access to which record and which user will not be able to have the access to which record. Yes or no? So this takes time based on the number of records that you have in your org or on that particular object. If there are a million records on student object, then in that case it will take more time. So once the sharing recalculation is done, we'll get an email, and after that only the users will be able to access the records which are being shared by sharing rule. Is it clear? Right? So currently we have got like 50 records. So it will hardly take any time. Refresh. We've got this as well. Why we have got this? Salesforce developer. So isn't there any other student who is into Salesforce admin or Salesforce developer? Let's make this Rajaram into Salesforce admin. Save. Done. So if we'll go to students, is it saved? Oh. Rajaram. Sure. So this is how your sharing rules work. And which type of sharing rules it is? Rule it is? Criteria based sharing rule. Is it clear to everyone? Okay. Now let's create an UNO based sharing rule. Yes or no? Okay. So let's first remove the user from that particular rule. You can access the records. You can. The ones who have already got the access to the records can access the records, and the ones who haven't got the access to the records will get the access to the records at the end of or after the sharing recalculation is done. Hmm. No, because we have already restricted the access of Java from you while we set the OWD. So first remove all the access and then give the access to the additional things. So I've already removed the access of Java and Salesforce admin from you. And now I'm creating a sharing rule to give you the access for Salesforce admin record. Make sense? What I wanted to do. Amit Shah. Let's make him like some rocket scientist. VP North American Sales. He's the VP of North American Sales. So what all records he'll be able to access? Only 2 records. We've added him as a user on that public group. If you guys remember. Shall we remove him? We'll have to because we've got no other choice. We've got only 2 users. So that's the problem. Amit Shah is added. Let's remove Amit Shah from here. Let's save this. So now let's see what this Amit Shah will be able to see. Cinderella, because he owns it. He owns it, right? Now I want to create a sharing rule in which I want to share all the records which Salesforce team can access with Amit Shah or with the people who are on VP International Sales. So I'm going to go to sharing rules. How to go to sharing rules? Sharing setup, sharing settings, and then scroll to that particular object. And now Salesforce team records with VP International Sales North America. VP. Based on record owner. Students owned by the members of Salesforce team. Share with. By the way, like who all are there already in the public group? Let's check that as well. Role associate faculty. No one is on role associate faculty. No one is on role VP of marketing. Let's add another user. Okay. Let's add Sahil Sharma in here. And let's save this. Right. So is this Amit Shah able to access any of the records? No. So in this sharing rule, up till now I haven't done anything. What I've done is there is Amit Shah, and this Amit Shah is VP of International Sales North America. That's it. And yeah, I mean, have I changed his role? I have changed his role. And then there is Salesforce team. So what it is saying is, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a sharing rule in which the records owned by the people in Salesforce team will be shared with another role, which is VP of International Sales. That's it. So that will call as based on record owner is, and what is owner based sharing rules, right? So we'll select the public group first, Salesforce team, and then select the users to share with whom I need to share it. I'll select the roles. Which role? VP North American Sales, right? North American Sales it was, right? Be sure? The role, yeah, VP North American Sales. And which access read only or read write? If you want to give read only, let's give read only for a while. Save. So this guy was only able to access one record and now he's able to access all the records. And let's try to edit the records. Looks like there is a problem. That means you're not allowed to edit. Make sense? Everyone? Shall I change the access of that sharing rule? Owner based one. I'll make it from read only to read write, and then we'll save it. Edit. I am able to edit this. Is it clear? Everyone? Yes or no? Okay, so that's how we create automatic exceptions with the help of sharing rules. And you can create as many as you want, and you can create as many type of as you want. But one thing, please make sure that with whomsoever you are sharing these records, you're considering everything, like role hierarchy as well. It's not like that you're just sharing it with the help of sharing rules and then your job is done. If you have shared it with the wrong person in the sharing rules, it will not only be shared with a wrong person, it will be shared with the complete people above them in the hierarchy that might be wrong in your use case. So you need to test it again and again and again and again while you're implementing. That's one of the things that you need to do, because it's very important. And for a business, nothing matters the most more than data. And the access, if you provide access to our data to the people who do not need to have the access to it, then you're gone. Literally, then you're gone. That's how important the data is. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.